welcome to another video here with Rhysy T from RVW Movies, the guy. Okay, we are here to anticipate our like most anticipated 10 movies of 2025. All right, so gonna be a fun list. A lot of people playing multiple like versions of themselves in the same movie. I don't know if you got that in your list, yeah, but I've got a lot of people playing more than one character. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's going to be a fun one. 2025 looks like a good year. It looks like a lot of promise. Do you have any promise coming into this year when it comes to movies, bro?
I think it's going to be a sneaky good movie. I think last year was a sneaky good movie. There's been a lot of like
I think it picked up
doomsaying
last year,
about,
100%.
yeah, like a lot of people saying like we haven't had a good year since like 2019 in movies, but I think we're on a bit of a streak at the moment with last year and this year. So
Yeah,
if all goes
hopefully,
well, obviously.
yeah, hopefully this year can sort of continue what it was. Because last year, like it felt like it started off a bit down, and even the box office was like not doing great with like a lot of flops early on in the year, and then it
Yeah,
really picked up sort of middle of the year towards especially towards the end of the year as well. So I feel like this year we might have like a more consistent, just a lot of people going to the cinema throughout the year, which I
yeah,
hope
yeah.
comes for it. What are your honorable mentions, bro? Before we get into our top 10, let's get some honorable mentions out there.
Okay, so I've got first of all, there's a Looney Tunes movie coming out this year, which like Looney Tunes have not been doing great recently, and I think it might just be like a HBO Max sort of thing. But
Okay.
like as a Space Jam lifer, I'm kind of like ready for another great Space Looney Tunes movie. So I've got that, and then I've got a double punch of the I Know What You Did Last Summer and Final Destination remake sequel. I don't exactly know what they're going to be, but Scream's done quite well recently, hasn't it, in the
It
last couple of years
has.
with the last few films. So hopefully those two will do the same, and then Tron 3, I guess we call it. You
Yeah.
know. I think that's going to be stunning to look at. And then what was the other one? The Accountant 2, Ben Affleck. You know, I love Ben Affleck. I don't really understand why there's so much hate for Ben Affleck. I love Ben Affleck. I
I'm
enjoyed
with
The
you there.
Accountant. So like I'm hoping that The Accountant 2 is going to be pretty something as well. What about you?
Well, literally, bro, Accountant 2 is also one of my honorable mentions as well. I think the first one was so fun. I'm with you,
Yeah.
bro. I love Ben Affleck. I love like Kevin Smith movies to Batman to
Yeah.
whatever, like to Argo. Do you know what I mean? Ben Affleck's a great
Yeah,
actor as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like I'm with you there, bro. The Looney Tunes shout is fun. I didn't even know we got one. I remember, didn't we? Weren't we supposed to get one with Will Forte, and it got shelved or
Oh
something?
yeah, the like Wile E. Coyote suing
Yeah, the
Actor,
Coyote
yeah.
ones. Yeah. And that got shelved. So
Yeah.
it's good that we're getting one this year. I didn't even know that. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. Remember that Brandon Fraser Looney Tunes film from back in the day? What was it called?
Yeah. Back in action.
Back in Action. Yeah, that was a
Yeah, yeah.
poor childhood memory right there. So
Yeah, yeah.
that'd be cool to see. But I wasn't aware of that. Another couple more honorable mentions for me is Lilo and Stitch,
Yeah.
um, Karate Kid,
Yeah.
and Elio, the new Pixar film.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Pixar film which has been coming out for like 4 years.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Yeah,
coming out for a while now, but I feel like we're getting it this year. So
yeah,
again, makes it honorable mention. Just make the top 10. So
yeah.
let's get your top 10, bro. Let's get into this, man.
All right, sweet. Right, so I'm gonna come in. Everything I do is like cinema only, but I'm gonna come in at number 10 with a Netflix movie.
Okay,
And it's
brilliant.
Happy Gilmore 2. Which like, again, very similar to Looney Tunes, might not get a cinema release, very similar to Final Destination and how I Know What You Did Last Summer. Might not be great, but like I'm really hoping that it is, like there's been a lot of great Adam Sandler movies in the last couple of years, like Uncut Gems. I didn't see that Spaceman movie that he did. But it's been a
It
while
wasn't
since we've
great.
had. No,
No, it
no.
wasn't great.
I usually love like space shit as well, you know what I mean? But
Same.
that
I'm with
no,
you.
that one just passed me by entirely. But Happy Gilmore 2, man, I'm really, really hopeful for, but also ready to be heartbroken. So that's why it's just a number 10.
I'm so glad you said that because I completely forgot about that movie even making my top 10. And
Yeah,
I'm like such a big fan of the first one. I am
yeah,
excited for the second one. I really am, especially with a lot of people coming. But obviously, we couldn't get Carl Withers back, obviously, but a lot of
yeah,
people coming back for the second one. Travis Kelsey, Bad Bunny, all of that stuff. My thing is,
yeah,
it's just I'm going in with such low expectations just so
yeah,
that
yeah,
I can enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Especially
yeah,
after
yeah,
getting burnt from like a Dumb and Dumber 2, because these sequels, like these comedy sequels after like 10, 12 years, usually that you just got to come in with like, I'm not expecting it to be as good as Happy Gilmore. If I just get a
yeah,
couple laughs, and I compare it to other Adam Sandler Netflix movies, as
Yes,
opposed to
yeah,
like
yeah,
those OG Adam Sandler movies, then I might come into it and take out a bit of appreciation for what I just saw,
yeah,
as opposed to like, oh, it's not as good as the first one, or it's not going to be as good as the first
yeah,
one.
yeah. It's all like it's all context, like, isn't
It's
it? You know?
relative,
So,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. But for my number 10, I'm going Thunderbolts.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think the trailers intrigue me. I think the trailers look pretty decent as well. Especially there was a lot of mess coming into it. Especially this period of Marvel has been pretty messy, but there's been a
yeah,
lot of like production mess and recasting and all of that kind of stuff. But the trailers look really intriguing. I'm intrigued by the asterisks in the title. What the hell does that supposed to mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
hopefully it can be a return to form for Marvel and maybe can shift us into like because we need a more clear pathway into how we're getting into like Doomsday or
yeah,
Secret Wars.
yeah.
And
They're
I
kind of
feel
like
like we don't
stumbling
have
around
that.
in the dark.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
hopefully Thunderbolts can maybe we'll get into Cap later, but also Thunderbolts can maybe make that sort of pathway a little bit clearer.
yeah. They got a great cast in it as well, you know. So
100% great ensemble, and it's like these like ragtag group of anti-heroes. They have potential to be fun movies. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Although the last
Um,
Marvel movie with a great cast was obviously the Eternals, and like that didn't really pan out
Oh
as well, did it, you
yeah,
know? So
I've got like a love hate with it relationship with Eternals because like there are moments in that movie where I'm like this movie's so good I don't understand the hate, and then there are moments in that movie where I'm just like how long is this movie?
yeah, 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 yeah. It's like Marvel
Literally.
hard sci-fi, isn't it? You know? So
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you. It feels more like a Chloe Zhao movie. I get that as opposed to like
yeah,
a Marvel movie, which is fine.
yeah,
I'm with going for swings, and if you miss a couple, I'm with it because you at least like made the attempt of doing
yeah, yeah, for
something
sure.
different.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your
Um,
number nine, bro?
well, speaking of something different, my number nine is Wicked for Good, I think is the subtitle.
Yeah,
Like if you had told me even 2 months ago that I'd be looking forward to a second Wicked movie, I never would have believed you because I know what you were saying then about like low expectations. I'm not a musicals guy, so when I went into Wicked Part One, I was just like, right, let's do this. And honestly, within like 45 minutes of that movie, I was like, yeah, it is doing exactly to me what it wants to be doing to me. Do you know what I mean? Like just looking at it, not just from like a spectacle or entertainment kind of standpoint, but like there was just one moment where they're singing in the library and they're like bookshelves moving in a circle behind them,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, that's a practical effect, and I was like, this is good, and it's been nominated for like best picture and stuff, and I'm fully on board with that. So like, I'm really hopeful that the next
The
one's
leading
gonna,
ladies both got noms as well.
yeah,
It
yeah,
wrote such like movie magic. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
It really felt like what an event might have been like going to see the movies maybe like in the 60s or like when it was like real events and like maybe like a singing in the rain or like do you know what I
yeah,
mean? It feels like that. It felt like that kind of thing, but for our generation.
yeah.
Especially if were lucky enough to not go where some people were trying to sing along. Bro, the first time I went to go
Oh,
see it, some people in front were trying to sing along. I'm just
yeah.
like, this is not the time for that right
No,
now.
no.
This
Because
is
like
not.
most cinemas will do like a specific sing-along version.
Yeah,
Just go to that, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Go to that exactly, and those will come
yeah,
as well. Those will come. So like, go do you release that kind of energy over there type thing.
yeah.
But what was the most surprising thing coming out of Wicked for you?
Um, Honestly, probably Ariana Grande. Because I
Okay,
wasn't one of these people who are like hating on her for getting the role before. I got it because like she's not an actress or she's not a stage actress. Similar with Cynthia Erivo, she's not a stage actress,
yeah,
or at least like, in a traditional sense. But I wasn't going in and be like, oh, Ariana Grande. But like again, talking about the film getting a Best Picture nomination and being fully on board with that, her getting a Best Supporting Actress nomination, I'm like, yeah, fair. Like
in
she
it,
earned that, you know?
mate. At the top of the year, if you were to be like Ariana Grande is going to get a Best Actress nom, like a Best Supporting Actress nom, I'd be like, such an insane like prediction.
Yeah.
That's such an
Yeah, it
insane
makes you think
prediction.
that like it's either going to be a really bad year or it's just like classic Academy companion stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it felt warranted. It really did. Like I
Yeah,
wasn't as like I because I'm of the like Nickelodeon era, and I kind of remember her off Nickelodeon. I remember she was
yeah,
good on that, but it's not to the point where I was like, oh, okay, she's just gonna be the biggest thing coming out of this, like the biggest surprise. Because I kind of knew Cynthia Erivo was good enough to handle like
yeah,
this. Ariana Grande, I wasn't that sure as well. So I'm with you, man. Coming out of it, she was such a pleasant surprise. So I'm
yeah, man.
glad you sort of gave her a spot to part two. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's cool. For me, number nine is the Alto Knights. It's it's De Niro playing two Italian mobsters. So he's playing like Frank
Oh yeah,
Costello,
yeah,
and he's playing Vito Gianese. What? Let me try to get this right. Genovese. Genovese.
yeah,
Vito Genovese. Okay, it's
yeah,
directed by Barry Levinson, who did like Good Morning Vietnam. He did what else did he do? A Rain Man. Like, so I'm excited to see that purely because I've got a soft spot for like Italian like mob stories, and then De
yeah,
Niro being like two Italian mobsters is
yeah.
like creme de la creme kind of thing.
Yeah,
Even
like
if it
double De
sucks,
Niro in Italian American crime should be like good to go, man.
trust. And he's playing two different like, oh, I'm just so with it. I'm here for it. Even if it sucks, I'll come out of
Yeah,
it being like, at least I got to see just that. Purely
yeah,
just
yeah.
that. Do you know what I mean?
I actually didn't even know that movie existed until like last week I was in the cinema and I saw a poster for it and I was like, what is this, man? You know?
Yeah, and it's again the trend of this year of people playing multiple, like just playing two characters in the same movie. It's
Yeah.
the first time it happened, but it's not the last time on my list.
Yeah. It's strange that like that is, I mean, it happens all the time. It's strange that that is a trend which is going to be happening in cinema this year, you know?
Yeah,
Like
it feels like it
when's
is
the
a
last movie we had like that, you know?
trust. If the last time I remember, like, um, didn't who someone did it on Apple TV. I feel like forgot who it was. I feel like someone played them like sells multiple. So I know
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor did it in Fargo a couple years ago, but I can't
Oh
remember.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Some people like do it better than others, so it'll be intriguing at the end of the year to go back and be like, oh, okay, who was like Tom Hardy did it well in Legend.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
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 yeah.
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 So what is your number 8, bro?
So number eight, I've kind of cheated. Number eight is two movies, but they are linked. So I've got Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. Um, I've never been like traditionally speaking a massive horror guy, but in the last couple of years that's kind of changing, and I absolutely adored Nosferatu.
Yeah.
So and I'm also not like a massive Guillermo del Toro guy, but like I know, right? Like I appreciate him. He's just never been like, but I think that's more because like I've never really existed in that sort of horror space, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm really ready for like Frankenstein and Nosferatu to be like a kind of 1-2 punch this year in like glorious adaptations of classic horror. And then it's just really intriguing. Again, like we were saying then about there being multiple films with people playing two people.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that like we're getting two Frankenstein films in the same year. Obviously,
Yeah.
Maggie Gyllenhaal's movie is going to be a little bit different in its like scope and its like intention, but like yeah, I really think we've got a good chance to come out this year with like a great Frankenstein movie, maybe even two great Frankenstein movies, you know?
Which would be wonderful because when was the last time we got a truly like great Frankenstein movie? I don't even
Yeah,
know. Like
yeah,
the last one I remember was like the James McAvoy Daniel Radcliffe one, but like that
yeah,
was not that great. Like,
no,
um, but I love that pick because I mean Del Toro is such a he might not be everyone's bread and butter. I completely get that, but when he hits, he really does hit. Like Shape of Water is great, such a great movie. Hellboy,
yeah,
so fun. Like Pan's Labyrinth, like the guy has like such a great discography, and him
yeah,
tackling a Frankenstein, which I know he's like got such a love for the old
yeah,
Universal monsters. So like being able to maybe see his take on a Frankenstein, yeah, like that's really really dope. So I'm glad you picked that. My number 8 is the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
oh yeah, yeah,
I'm so gassed for that. I'm so gassed for that because I just think how to Train Your Dragon is such an underrated. Like I feel like its impact on our generation is so underrated. Like
yeah,
especially like coming out of DreamWorks, a lot of people like have this narrative of how like impactful maybe like a Shrek was and how impactful that was to people. But like how to Train Your Dragon, those first movies were like so impactful for people of our generation. And
yeah,
it really does lend itself so much to a live action adaptation. It's one of those rare ones where I'd be like, okay, I so get why you're doing it in live
yeah,
action. My biggest fear was maybe there's going to be these elements that don't translate as well into live action. You kind of miss a bit of that like sort of fantastical element, a bit of that magic that you might sort of lose when you're adapting it to live action. You know, like
yeah,
to whatever. It might just not feel the same, might not evoke the same emotions. But the trailer really sort of makes me hopeful. Dean
yeah.
Dubois directing also makes me hopeful. So yeah, that would be really really exciting. He's gonna
Yeah, I
have
think
an
the
appear
biggest
with
challenge for
Lilo Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon.
yeah, yeah, they're really close together, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think the biggest challenge for that film is not going to be like the realization of like the dragon or the more fantastical elements. I think the biggest challenge for that is going to be like in the animated films, the body types and the body sizes of the humans were so like diverse
yeah,
that like unrealistic, for lack
yeah,
of a better term. I think that's good. But then, again, it's all context, isn't it? If you go in thinking it's going to be like you want his dad to be like this, like it's just not
yeah.
going to happen,
If
you
you're
know? So
waiting for like the different shapes and sizes, you should, yeah, that kind of, you're just not gonna, you're gonna come out of it with like a bit of disappointment.
yeah,
But
but then
if
if they
you're
get the
like,
rest of it fine, then
exactly, and it's funny because we keep talking about coming into certain films with or certain like experiences with like, oh, we got to have like certain contexts or we got to have certain context. So it's kind of just funny, sort of like thinking how we're already like preamping what our mindset is going to be going into
yeah,
these
yeah.
movies.
Yeah, it's such like a part of like modern movie watching, isn't it? To like either either contextualize or just not at all,
Yeah,
So
yeah, and it's sometimes it's sad where you're just like, okay, I'm going into this movie. I know, for example, the production like timeline was an absolute mess. Like this happened and that happened, and then the embargo only released a day before the movie comes out, and you're already going into it with like so much like negative connotations, or it could be the opposite where you just go in with positive. Like so much can affect what you like watch before you even like start press play
yeah,
or go into the cinema or whatever. It's actually crazy.
yeah,
That's why doing these lists are kind of fun because you're already kind of dissecting what you're thinking about something before you actually
yeah.
watch
And then
it.
to go back to it at the end of the year as well, to compare your top 10 anticipated with your top 10 of the year is always insane.
It's never then like very rarely is there any like I would say overlap in my like
Yeah,
top 10 anticipated and top 10 like favorite by the end of the year.
yeah, yeah. Um, right, so I'll go ahead with number seven then.
Yeah,
So
hit
my
me.
number seven is The Running Man, the Edgar Wright adaptation of the Stephen King book. Um, Like I literally just said I'm not a massive Guillermo del Toro guy. I'm also going to say I'm not a massive Stephen King guy, and I also think Edgar Wright is a bit more hit and miss than people say.
Okay.
But I think when Edgar Wright lands, he really lands. Like a couple of years ago when Baby Driver came out, the first time I watched it, I was like, it's okay. And then when I went back to it with a bit more like study of directing and understanding of directing, I was like, this man can like capital D direct.
Yeah.
Obviously very similar to like Del Toro obviously having a massive love for Universal monsters and horror in general. I think it's very clear that Edgar Wright loves and is influenced by Stephen King. So to see how he treats that is one thing, but also just the idea of him putting together a real spectacle, which is like I guess Scott Pilgrim and like I said, Baby Driver are sort of spectacles, but I think this one might have the chance to be like his
Even
biggest
bigger in
movie.
scope.
Yeah, yeah. So like to see like I don't know if it's being shot in IMAX, but it like if for example if it were being shot in IMAX, I'd love to see how the Edgar Wright experience translates to like such massive filmmaking.
What number was it on your list? Sorry.
Number seven.
Number seven. Okay, so because I've also got the Running Man on my list. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's just a bit higher. But yeah, same
Yeah,
reasons. The cast also looks really great as well.
yeah, yeah,
And the premise sounds really like intriguing as well. It's kind of a
yeah,
Squid Gamey kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm kind of intrigued. My number five, no, not number five, sorry. Number seven is Cap Four.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
This
I'm
week.
Yes, this week. It is this
Yeah,
week. I'm intrigued to see how it comes out. I'm excited for Catfall for a couple of reasons. Obviously, seeing Harrison Ford turn into Red Hulk, that's enough to crack any top 10. Like if the rest of the movie is just Anthony Mackie like eating a jar of peanut butter in his Captain America suit, but we get to see Harrison Ford turn into Red Hulk, that's enough
yeah,
for the price of admission. Do you know what I mean? So that in
yeah,
itself is enough. But then we also have like players like John Carlos Esposito. I know they reworked him in the reshoots, him coming into it. Plus Anthony Mackie on the sort of cusp of like Winter Soldier and Falcon on Disney Plus, which kind of lended itself really well to sort of lead into this kind of Cap Four. At the end of that series, I was ready for a Cap Four. I mean, it has been
yeah,
a while when we were watching it during COVID, but I remember feeling excited by the prospect of a Cap Four. Also, just there's going to be a lot of weight with someone like an Anthony Mackie obviously playing Cap Four, and the way they might want to deal with it. The way they dealt with it on the show was really good. Was really good with the Isaiah Bradley element and all that kind of stuff. So I'm intrigued how they do it. in the sort of like 2 hour space of a film, and obviously with a larger audience, because not a lot of people that have seen the series are going to come in and watch this. So I'm just kind of
Yeah.
intrigued how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's probably the Marvel film which is like going to be most closely linked to one of the shows. So I do feel, I mean, there was obviously the Marvels leading on from Miss Marvel,
Yeah,
but I feel like even that you could go in without the show, whereas this one seems the most linked to one of the shows. But then, like you said,
yeah,
it's been so long since the series as well that, but also the Harrison Ford thing is crazy because the amount of things which like Harrison Ford seems to not want to do, and like how cranky he is towards like say Star Wars or something,
yeah.
and then they're like, "Do you want to be a Red Hulk?" And he was like, "Yeah, why not?" You know?
You know what's even crazier? He approached them for being like, "Yo, have you got like something for me?" And they were like, "Oh, actually, someone just died real quick. Do you want to just like step in and be
Yeah,
Red
yeah,
Hulk for
yeah,
us?" And
yeah,
then it just worked out perfectly, which kind of angers me in a way where it's like, why can't Marvel just be aggressive and be like, you know what? Go out and be like, get a Harrison Ford because you feel like you can do that and like play your
yeah,
chance, play your cards right. You never know. To need him to go and be like, oh, can I be in one of your movies? And then be like,
yeah.
you want to be in our movie? Yeah, sure.
Who's
Um,
gonna say no? You know?
yeah, who's gonna say no to that? But I think him playing Thaddeus Ross, him being Red Hulk, is such a. Do you think Hulk might show up, or are you thinking it kind of devalues the character of a Sam Wilson by like having him like have to use the Hulk to fight so Ross?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because like so much of that of Captain America now and Anthony Mackie as Captain America, so much of it now, both on screen and off screen, is about how can he thrive, how can he succeed without Chris Evans, you know?
Yeah, and without
So
the
I do,
super soldier serum as well.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think like if they were to do that, it would be another case of Marvel just like kind of getting too nervous about trying something new, you know? So I hope
I
they don't. I hope
completely
they do
agree.
things. Yeah, and then obviously the Red Hulk is like he still is a Hulk, do you know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
people will still go, casuals will still be like, sweet, Hulk, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't think they need it, but like probably wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if they did it, you know, but I'm really hoping they don't.
It's like for me, it's a bit like I don't know. There's a wrestling term. I don't know if you were a wrestling fan growing up,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
yeah, of like you have to like put someone over, and
Yeah.
Sam Wilson needs to be put over right now. So it's like
Yeah.
when a legend out here is has all the cachet in the world, and there's a new up and coming star, and you let the new up and coming star beat you, so he can get a little bit of that good sort of energy and that gold dust can rub off kind of thing. And I feel
Yeah.
that's what Sam Wilson needs from this Red Hulk. He needs to be put
Yeah.
over kind of thing. And
Yeah.
having a Hulk or whatever just kind of would ruin it
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. And Marvel need it as well, like as a whole,
Marvel
like, you
need
know.
it.
So,
And
yeah.
Marvel need again. This should be even more of a pathway into where we're leading into the next Avengers movies.
Yeah.
This movie especially. We have to have more of a frame of how is like Shang Chi, all of these guys gonna like all factor into this next one because it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like we know where we're going, which kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All
Um,
right, man. What's your number six?
So at number six, I'm keeping it on trend with like, big British cinema. I got 28 Years Later as my number six,
Wicked.
which like as I was looking back at the list just before we started filming, I was like, have I maybe got this film too low, sort of thing? But I don't think so. I think again, it's more of a case of like the stuff on higher up my list. I'm really excited for, and it's going to be a good year. But like the trailer for 28 Years Later is so good and so like weird. I guess for lack of a better term. I don't know if the film itself is going to end up being weird, but it looks like they're really trying something with this one, like
Yeah.
28 days later, obviously incredible. 28 weeks later, not as good. But
Never
it's
ended up seeing it. I'll be
yeah,
honest.
well, there you go, like, so yeah, I think there's a real intent behind this film. But again, I'm pretty sure this is IMAX. So it's just one of those things that like IMAX zombie apocalypse, as long as it's done right, what more do you want? Like,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. It's like IMAX zombie apocalypse. You're there for it. 28 years later is one of them ones as well where I'm like, again, it didn't crack my top 10, but I didn't even watch the trailer for it. I'm just
Yeah,
like, I just want to go in so clean with that one, and I didn't feel the need to watch the trailer. Like there are some movies where I'm just like, I have to at least see a frame of this. Like I need
yeah,
to see a frame of this. Where there's somewhere I'm just like, I'd rather like not watch a trailer or not watch the second trailer at this point anymore. You've already sold me, and I'm
yeah,
already felt like Killian Murphy coming back to this. I was like, okay, I'm kind of sold.
yeah,
I
yeah,
need to see this. So this is, and again, we'll go into another one where like I watched the first trailer, like sort of higher up in my list, where I watched the first trailer and I'm like, okay, please don't show me again another trailer. And I feel
Yeah,
like a lot of people that have seen the second trailer have been like, I wish we didn't see that second trailer.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
again, this is one of them moments like it's a zombie movie. I'm watching IMAX. I'm gonna shove a lot of carbohydrates into my face, and it's
yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
a good time. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's all
yeah.
I need. So for me, number six is I'm I'm surprised it kind of came down this low. I feel like it'll be a lot higher in my top 10 list at the end of the movie, at the end of the year, sorry. But it's Mickey 17.
Yeah, that's literally my number five. That's my next movie. So yeah, let's just get into it. Yeah,
So
yeah,
again, continuing the trend of a person same playing the same person twice, playing two
yeah,
different people. Sorry. Um, uh, Parasite was such a classic. It's such a
yeah,
staple
yeah,
in film. It's become such a huge staple in film now. So I'm intrigued to see what he does next. The cast looks incredible as well. Robert
yeah,
Pattinson, Stephen Young. So yeah, that's all you kind of need. That's all I needed to be sold. Again, I've not seen a single frame, no trailer, nothing. I want to go in and just watch it. No,
yeah,
have no sort of synopsis in mind as well. I'm just going in
yeah.
sort of clean as much as
Yeah,
possible.
and it's based on a book as well, isn't it? And like it's one of those where like, and this might be sacrilege to some people. If a film is based on a book, I will do everything I can. Like if I've already read it, is one thing, but like I won't be reading the book until after the film because I want to keep it for the
Yeah,
cinema sort of thing.
yeah,
So but yeah, I completely agree. Like obviously Bong Joon-ho is amazing. Parasite, like you said, like I was having a conversation yesterday about the Oscars and people saying how the Oscars don't really take risks. And I think that's a bit unfair because recently they have been. And obviously Parasite kind of swept the board, didn't it?
yeah.
I
And
don't think,
everything everywhere. Oh, sorry to cut you, but just to hop on, everything everywhere all at once as well. I feel like
yeah,
that was a risk-winning Best Picture the last year,
exactly.
2 years ago.
Like both of those films, when I sat down, and even when both those films finished, I was never sat there thinking, well, maybe Parasite a little bit more because it came out around the time of the Oscars and it was buzz
Yeah,
already. But like when both those films ended, neither of them were like, that's the best picture winner. Do you know what I mean? And it's not because
okay,
of the quality of the film, it's just because of the expectation of the Academy. Whereas now they are awarding films like that sort of thing. And I don't think it's going to happen with Mickey 17, probably because it's like much more of a genre movie than Parasite, and also
yeah.
because it's coming out like I think it's coming out the week after the Oscars, which is kind of like a bit of a shame. But yeah, like you said, great cast. And it reminds me a little bit of did you see Moon with Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, well, he's stuck in the shape space shuttle by himself. Isn't that direct?
Yeah.
Was that not directed by Duncan Jones?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was such a good.
Um,
I love Sam Rockwell as well.
yeah, for
He's
sure.
such a
Yeah.
talent.
So yeah, it reminds me of that, which like, it's one of those things. Do you compare too much to that? But then, it's Bong Joon-ho. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I think we're safe.
literally, we are safe. We're definitely safe. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're number five.
My number five was Mickey 17. So
Sweet, we can go.
yeah,
So my
yeah, yeah,
number five is the Running Man, which you had
yeah,
earlier. We talked about earlier. Okay,
yeah.
let's go to your number four.
Okay, so number four, I've got. I'm pretty sure this is what it's called. F1, the
Yeah,
Brad Pitt F1 movie.
with
With
Damson
like,
Idris.
say again.
Is that with the one with Damson Idris?
I believe so. Yeah, like the Joseph Kosinski movie. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like, we talk about cast in terms of those two and also like Javier Bardem and Kerry Condon. But apparently there's like, I think it's like nearly a dozen real life F1 drivers are going to be in it as well.
That's
I
mad.
assume as like cameos, or maybe they're going to do like a whole extended sequence of a race and it's going to cut back and forth.
Yeah,
But obviously by Joseph Kosinski as well, who did Top Gun Maverick, which very similar to what I was saying earlier about Wicked. I was never a Top Gun fan growing up. I'm fully aware that I just came into it too late. So when I sat down to Top Gun Maverick, I was like, okay, let's do this. And like by the end of that film, I was like, yeah.
hitting it,
So
bro.
like, so to see like he's gonna be going from jet fighters to F1.
To F1.
I'm really excited to see what he does with that. And like I said, if there is a sequence of like an extended sequence of a race, it's going to be like full throttle, no pun intended. But again, what we were saying about IMAX filmmaking, as much as I love like director driven cinema, as much as I love like the Oscar movies, there's
Yeah.
nothing better than going to see something big and massive and a little bit dumb on like the biggest screen you can get, and like you said, just shoveling popcorn in your face. So like I'm so ready
Oh,
for like Midsummer F1. Let's go.
mate. And Top Gun Maverick as well was such like it felt like such like cinema Viagra. Do you know what I mean? Or like it
Yeah.
just like it was like it was such a lull in this like in the cinema going experience. Like the box office was down. Like we just coming out of COVID, and I'm with you. I was not a Top Gun guy at all. Like
Mm.
I don't even think I've like I saw the first one like once maybe like at like when I was like 15, and I was like, this is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But then the second one was just you go into the cinema. I felt like everyone needed it. I came out of it like a bloody American national. I was just like, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah, man, like so pumped, you
yeah,
know?
so pumped, bro. Just not me at all. But yeah, I was like so pumped. So yeah, F1 is. I mean, I'm really intrigued for that one as well. What's that was your number three, right? Or was that no your number four?
4, yeah.
Four. All right. My number four is Michael, the
Michael.
biopic. I'm
Oh
intrigued.
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how they handle it. It's gonna be just like obviously they have a great cast: Tom Domingo, Nia Long, Miles Teller. I think getting his nephew to play him is a smart move.
Yeah.
Just because you come into it and you have no other association other than like that's just Michael kind of thing. Like if you were to cast like a Frank Ocean or a Charles Gambino or whatever, you'd have a bit of that sort of association. And the kid looks so much like him as well.
Yeah.
Um, so and just to see how they're going to play this out, like the way so in scope it has the like potential to be as good as like a complete unknown, array, that kind of caliber of musical biopics. I feel like we've gotten so many, and I'm kind of sick of them. They are a bit paint by numbers, but
Yeah.
this is the like this is the Don Donner of them all. Do you know what I mean? This is like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
biggest one. I even think this could so be $1 billion movie. It can
Yeah.
definitely has that potential, especially if it's good to decent. But yeah, I'm also intrigued that like how the hell they're gonna handle a lot of this stuff like moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
I
have
think
Michael?
that intrigue is going to be like going a long way for a lot of people because obviously
Yeah,
Michael Jackson's so iconic, even despite of everything that's gone on in his life.
yeah,
But then there's so many people like he's almost like the original meme sort of thing. Like like when you're a kid, you hear people making jokes about Michael Jackson like on the
yeah,
schoolyard and stuff like that. So I think as like a sort of morbid curiosity, I think that film is going to play quite well. And it's like you said then about a lot of biopics can be quite samey. Um, but I really enjoyed Better Man recently, and I think Rocket Man is terrific as well because both
yeah,
of those films kind of like delve into what a song means, and they don't. It's not just like something happens and then they write a song. It's like the song is happening as a reflection of what is happening in that artist's life at the time. And I think
yeah.
there's so much potential to do that for Michael Jackson across any era of his music.
I
And
completely
I
agree.
truly, from a visual standpoint, there's so much they can do with it as
Yeah,
well.
and Anton Fuqua doing it, I think that's a good pick for in terms of direction.
Mm.
I'm with you, man. I feel like a lot of time these music biopics kind of like miss sort of there's like this sort of essence, there's like a magical essence with these specific artists that I feel like they don't translate as well on like when it comes to biopic. Like Tupac,
Yeah,
Amy Winehouse, you just felt like you're watching an actor playing sort of a character. You didn't feel like you were getting that like once in a lifetime human being, and
yeah.
I feel like that's so hard to translate. But yeah, moving on though, really quick. What's your number three, bro?
So number 3, I've got Ballerina, the John Wick spin-off. Um,
Sweet.
Yeah, I love John Wick, man. Like every single one of them. I've not disliked barely a frame of a John Wick movie. So I don't know if we're gonna get a John Wick 5. I don't know if we need a John Wick 5. I don't even know if we can do a John Wick 5. But the fact that they are extended the universe on the big screen as well, and it's Ana de Armas, I think maybe not quite as like full throttle as F1, like I just said, but I think like the opportunity for this to just be a big, dumb, good
High
fun night of a
octane
movie.
fun. It's gonna be all of
Yeah,
that, bro. I
yeah,
definitely think he will show up in
yeah,
Ballerina, and I
yeah,
also think it'll lead into a John Wick 5. There's no way they don't do a fifth one, which is
yeah,
crazy. The fact that like this movie that just kind of was like originally supposed to kind of just feel like a VOD kind of film, low key, kind of turned into this whole bloody franchise. It's kind of crazy.
yeah,
It kind of also birthed the career of like the directors who went on to do like Deadpool and like Nobody and Atomic Blonde and all that cool
yeah.
stuff. So and they might do
Yeah,
the
like
Ocean's
stunt
movie.
directors becoming
Yeah,
directors.
Fall Guy, like they like that literally all started with like John Wick. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm intrigued to see Ballerina.
yeah.
Number three for me is Sinners. Again, another
Oh yeah,
movie with someone playing two different characters. I've only this is the one I was talking about where I only watched the first trailer. I did not want to see the second one. I'm like, I'm sold. We have Ryan Coogler doing vampires. We have bloody Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld. It's just I'm so sold. I was so sold by the first trailer.
Yeah.
If they like, I'm just like Marvel. Why can't you do a Blade movie? Like literally, like this
Yeah,
looks
yeah, yeah,
so easy. But it looks amazing.
yeah,
Widescreen lens they're using, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm intrigued to also like see like I don't know, it just feels like something we haven't gotten before, like a
yeah,
black vampire story in that
yeah.
time. It's just yeah, I'm really intrigued with this one. And Ryan Coogler doesn't miss. I don't think
Yeah,
Ryan
yeah,
Coogler
for sure.
misses.
I think it's like they could almost do like a sort of Django thing with it, couldn't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that kind of movie with like all of the historical implications of that time, but also at the end of the day, it's
but
just
like surprise, surprise, there's vampires. Like
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not going to be watching the second trailer. I don't even think I've seen the first trailer. It's like we've got the
Sweet,
raw materials. Let's just do this thing, you know?
sweet. All right, awesome. What's your number two, bro? We're getting into our top two.
So number two, I literally found out the name of this film today. So it's the new Paul Thomas Anderson film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, yeah.
So I found out this morning that it's called One Battle After Another. They've just done a test screening and they revealed the name of the film. Paul Thomas Anderson, easily my favorite director, quite possibly my favorite script writer as well. I know he apparently did some rewrites on Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon recently, and I wasn't sold on either of those films. But this is him doing his own thing,
Flexing his
and
muscles.
obviously,
Is this his first film since Phantom Thread, or has he had another one since?
no, he did Licorice Pizza, which came out
Oh yeah, yeah,
2021.
yeah. Of
Yeah.
course, of
But
course, of
like that
course.
was in that kind of like COVID space, like you were saying,
Yeah,
when everything was just a bit. But I really enjoyed Licorice Pizza as well.
yeah.
So
I love that movie as well. Phantom
yeah,
Thread's amazing. Like when Let There Be, what is it called? Let There Be Blood. Will
There
there
Will Be
be
Blood.
blood? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so good. So like, I didn't even know they gave that movie a name yet. I just
I didn't really know what it was about. I'll be honest with you. Apparently, it's about the Ronald Reagan re-election campaign. But you know, like I said earlier, it's Paul Thomas Anderson, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm good to go already.
That's
You know, so
exactly that's all you kind of need to be sold, really. PT.
yeah,
Actually, I didn't even know they released the title yet. I still thought it was just Untitled Paul Thomas Anderson movie. That's
yeah,
really all
yeah,
I
yeah,
had like knowledge of.
yeah,
Again, didn't want to know kind of what was like the synopsis. Not again. I just kind of want to go in cold.
yeah,
Leo PTA, great link up. I'm ready, kind of thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
before I get start with my number two, bro, I just want to say
yeah,
I love the fact that our list so far, I feel like we've got maybe two in common. Okay.
yeah,
But
yeah,
so many of yours picks I could have easily put into mine, I feel like. And
yeah.
it was just like, it's nice that we've gotten to be able to sort of talk about sort of nice wide variety of stuff as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Like
It's
when you said about Sinners, like it wasn't on my honorable mentions and it wasn't in my top 10, but like it was there on both. Do you know what I mean? Like it was
yeah,
so close. So I'm really
same
glad
thing
that
with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and Happy Gilmore 2. I'm just like, damn, those both should be in my top 10 as well.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
same thing,
yeah,
bro. For me, one, so my number one and two were kind of just like, I don't know which one's which. I don't know which one's which. I don't know which one's which. And it's pretty like, I feel like it's pretty obvious what my number one and two are. But number
yeah.
two for me is Fantastic Four First Steps.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I'm a big Fantastic Four guy. Okay. For me, Fantastic Four always felt like sort of like a bit Star Trekky, but it was like at the same time like monsters kind of fighting monsters. That's how like the comic books felt. That's how like the old cartoons felt. So I've always been, and especially like the Tim Story movies as well. Like I'm of the age where I didn't realize how like doo-doo those movies were
yeah, yeah,
until
yeah,
I
yeah,
grew up kind of thing. So I had those like nostalgia tinted glasses when I do see those like story movies, especially the first one. Second one is
yeah,
really hard to really hard to defend. But so I've always been huge on the Fantastic Four. Especially coming into the 2015 reboot, I was so excited for that movie. I
yeah,
told this
yeah,
before. I was so excited for that movie, bro. Especially Josh Trank. I love Josh Trank. Chronicle was amazing. So
mm,
him getting Fantastic Four was dope. The take they were going for, I was really with it. Like I was like, okay, we can do this like dark, like again, these because these guys are monsters. Like I'm with it. Let's do this. and then the cast was awesome, like Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, and then I left my house at 6 o'clock in the morning so I can go to the first screening of that film because I wanted to be like,
Yeah,
watch that film early. I couldn't wait, bro. Even though I heard bad things even before they
yeah,
came, I'm ready for this. The first 20 minutes are it's such like they pull the rug underneath you because the first 20 minutes of that movie are actually pretty good, and then it just is absolute train wreck afterwards.
yeah.
I left the cinema so angry, bro. Like, I just wanted to hit something. I just wanted to hit something. But the fact they're back at Marvel now, long story short, they're back at Marvel now. Um, I'm intrigued at the way they're sort of approaching it with the whole like 60s dystopian future and the alternate universe. Like
Mm,
again, the cast is amazing. I'm really with the cast. The only thing was like I was Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. Kind of just feels like again, Marvel feel like they're doing the safe options.
yeah,
It's like Pedro Pascal was just like, okay, he's the guy who like PR wise won't give us any issues. He's already in the Disney family. People online love him. It's a safe bet, as opposed to like who would make, and he would probably be like really serviceable as Reed Richards. Like, but
yeah,
I just don't feel like he's probably like the best person to probably play Reed, which is fine. But I've accepted now, and I'm coming into it still with excitement. But Eben Moss
yeah.
Baccarat playing the thing,
Yes,
I cannot wait to see that.
yeah.
So yeah, even getting
I think it's
Paul
really interesting
Houser,
and
like playing
fantastic.
Goldman, all that kind of stuff. I'm just
Yeah.
really sorry. What were you saying?
Um, I was just gonna say with Fantastic Four, like the three that exist are like obviously not great, not considered great, but I think like Fantastic Four is such like an interesting like beacon in I guess superhero cinema. And like the first one is like pre-MCU, but like in between like Spider-Man, X-Men, and the MCU, and it's got like the cast that it has. And then you look at the 2015 one, and it's like Josh Trank and Miles Teller and even Kate Mara, like all like basically at the start of their careers, and now. I don't. It just feels like Fantastic Four has been like a sort of like watermark for like different stages of
Yeah,
like franchise cinema. And this one again, it's in this era where Marvel are branching out into like alternate universes and stuff, like you said, but also at a position where they're really looking for their next steps.
they need to
For
win.
But
Yeah,
then they've cast like the guy from the Bay, and they've got Pedro Pascal, like you said, who's like the guy for like the Mandalorian and stuff like that. So it's just really interesting how like seems to keep happening in Fantastic Four, and now it's happening again where everyone's putting their hopes on Fantastic Four, even though historically speaking, it's not been a great cinematic property. Like
yeah,
I'm ready to enjoy it. Like not a massive comic book guy myself, but like I'm ready for this to be good. I'm ready for any movie to be good in that
yeah.
sphere. You know
Of
what I mean?
course, yeah.
But I'm really intrigued to see exactly what any of this means, you know?
Bro, that's an excellent point. I've never even thought about that. Where it's like each Fantastic Four franchise came at such a like a limbo in terms of
Mm,
like superhero climate, and it was just such an intriguing, like it's really intriguing because it feels like it's always been wrong time sort of like for like the Fantastic Four. It always kind of feels like
yeah,
that. um and it also feels like again there's a lot riding on the Fantastic Four, like you said.
yes,
Feels like Marvel are really putting their hopes on like sort of these characters being the next Iron Man, the next Cap, the next. They need the Fantastic Four and eventually the X-Men to kind of be the face of their franchise going forward for the next whatever 10, however long years. So there
yeah,
is a lot riding on this. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm really intrigued. I mean, the guy who did WandaVision is directing it. I can't remember his name right now. I think something Shankman. But
yeah,
he it was actually going to be John Watts originally, but he's doing it now, which is I feel like a good again. It's like a good sign because WandaVision was really fun. He played really well with that sort of time frame of the '60s and
yes,
also
yeah,
the like playing on the whole sitcom thing in that episode, and then going at the sort of like the '80s melodrama in this episode. Like he's in touch with pop culture and the needs of pop culture. So him attacking a Fantastic Four in a completely like alternate reality where he kind of gets to like not only play with the Fantastic Four but play with a reality like sort of unencumbered by the current MCU. He gets to kind of really play with it, and it feels like he gets to play with that kind of like silver age, like sort of '60s comic book, like
yeah, yeah,
play in that world. No one's gotten that reign before, so like he's got a lot of like weight on his shoulders. Um,
yeah,
there's a chance we can get like characters like a '60s, like a Silver Age Spider-Man or a Silver Age. I don't see it happening, but it sort of opens itself to that. My only worry is again, bro. Like there is a lot riding on Fantastic Four. Like this movie needs
Yeah,
to be good, and like same thing for my number one, where it's like there's a lot riding on these movies, which is crazy because they're just supposed to be enjoyable pieces of art, and we're supposed
yeah,
to just be like, I enjoyed that, and I'm glad I spent my money there. But like now they've become like, oh, this is like it feels like a stock. Like we're relying on stock going up as opposed to like it being a good movie. We're relying on it being like, oh, this could lead into like future movies where we can make billions and millions of dollars, but it's riding on this
yeah,
like 2 hour spectacle right here.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like
100%.
whatever happens, this is a like a fixed point in time, to use, some parlance from another franchise. You know what I mean? Like whatever
100%.
happens,
It feels like such a crossroads for Marvel at this point, and
yeah,
yeah, Fantastic Four feels like a big juncture for them. Also,
yeah,
it might be the first time we get to see a Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom as well. That could be potentially there as well.
yes,
So
yeah,
yeah, I'm intrigued to see how it goes. And again, man, Evan, that's my most excited. Like the thing I'm most excited about is Evan Moss Backrack playing like
yeah,
Ben Grimm. It just is so perfect. It's so
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. No pun intended, because he's from the Bay, but just let him cook.
Let
Just
him
give him
cook.
some. Yeah,
Let him cook. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Okay, man. Number one. What's your
All
most
right.
anticipated movie of 2025, bro?
So this is it. This film surely will be in my top 10 at the end of the year, as long as they don't screw it up. Um, but I don't know if it'll be number one on that list, but it's number one on this list. It is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So I absolutely adore Mission Impossible, like since day one. I don't think I've ever rewatched a Mission Impossible movie. And I don't think it's necessarily a kind of franchise where you need to rewatch the films when you go in, but every single time I'm like, I cannot wait. I'm really considering rewatching them all before this one, just because it is the final reckoning. But like, I know I've said it a lot of times in this video that we've recorded today, but like I'm just ready to just sit there in IMAX and just let it happen. What
Yeah.
I will say is,
Be
I
consumed.
yes, absolutely, and like let Tom Cruise wash over me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like Tom Cruise. I know it's a whole thing, but I think he's good. And like we were talking about Top Gun earlier, the man loves cinema. The man
Yeah.
is I don't want to call him the savior of cinema, but like he's so concerned with
He
saving
saved
cinema.
the cinema though.
Exactly, so
Yeah.
you can't knock him for that. You know what I mean?
You
You
can't
can't take the
discredit him
success of it. You
100%.
can't. Yeah. I will say that the last Mission Impossible might have been my least favorite one. Um, but that's more because like of some of the choices they made within it, like the whole Rebecca Ferguson thing, like really, really annoyed me, because I think she's fantastic, both in Mission Impossible and in a wider
In
sense. And I
general,
think
yeah.
she was sort of being like lined up as Ethan Hawke's perfect equal, perhaps even like the future of Mission Impossible. And then like, she got bumped off. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Dead Reckoning Part One, which is I guess now just called Dead Reckoning.
Yeah,
But
they changed the name, right? Because like
yeah, they
this
Star
is
Wars it,
Final
man. Like,
Reckoning now.
yeah. Um, but we've been saying a lot about trailers throughout this entire video. And this one, I am doing absolutely everything I can to watch not a single trailer, because like I don't need it. Like number one, I don't need it because I'm there day one, you know what I
Yeah, you're
mean? And
sold.
I'm already, yeah, I like tickets are on sale, but I'm already planning where and when I'm going to watch it. But I don't need a trailer because I'm going to be there. I also don't need a trailer because I kind of know what's going to happen. But the one thing I don't want to see the big stunt. Every Mission Impossible film has that one massive stunt. I
Yeah.
don't want to see the last one where he like drives the motorcycle off the side of the cliff. Um, I saw that so many times, and even like in IMAX for a couple of months before the films come out, there was a 6 minute preview, which was like a behind the scenes of that scene. I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
So anytime I go to IMAX over the summer, I'm just going to be like this for like 10 minutes, probably when the trailer comes on. But I don't want it. I want to watch that stunt for the first time, like in
Yeah.
IMAX, you know what I mean? Like within the context of the film. But all that being said, crazy that my number one most anticipated film of the year is the number one film that I do not want to see a single trailer for, which I guess is just like indication of how much I am looking forward to it. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that shout as well. I love that shout. I'm with you where it's like I don't think I've ever rewatched a Mission Impossible movie. I don't think
Yeah,
I've my favorite though. So I'm intrigued to know what your favorite was. My favorite was probably Rogue Nation. Is that what it was called?
yeah,
Rogue Nation, the
yeah,
fifth one. That's the one where
yeah,
I was like, I left cinema. I was like, I really, really enjoyed that one.
yeah.
Again, Dead Reckoning was I enjoyed it. It's not where it's like it was probably my least favorite for a while. I think
Mm,
the second one might have been my least favorite.
yeah,
but like we got Ghost Protocol after that, and then like it was going well. I don't know because where it's like Rebecca Ferguson, I'm with you because when they introduced her in Rogue Nation as well, she was such a like breath of fresh air, and
Yeah,
then she like it was really her like bursting onto the scene because that's that she gone on to do so much afterwards. But I mean, I didn't see that coming as your number one. To be fair,
yeah. Really? Wow.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
didn't see that
Um,
coming at all.
yeah, it's just like when we talk about like big dumb filmmaking, and I'm using the word dumb, I don't mean dumb as like as an insult. I mean like just let it happen to me. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
let it
I
consume you.
think
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. I think like Mission Impossible is the epitome of that when done right. And obviously the worry is now because Dead Reckoning was like the weakest one for not for a while, is that the trend that's going to happen? Because it's kind of like you have like Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3, which are kind of like their own trilogy, and then like the next three, Rogue Nation, Ghost Protocol, and Fallout were like their own trilogy as well. And it's like, is this now going to be like its own sort of duology? You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah,
going to be not as good as the rest, you know? But hopefully not. Hopefully they just like, again, it's Tom Cruise. He knows what he's doing, so I hope he just like focuses in on what has made Mission Impossible good and not these like choices which he seemed to make in Dead Reckoning, which were more trying to set up this grand finale, which was
yeah.
set up already. Do you know
It
what I mean?
definitely felt like a part one. That's I think its biggest
Yeah,
issue, and I'm glad they sort of switched the names up because like the biggest mistake you can ever do is release a movie in cinemas and have part one in the title because you're literally telling people the movie is not gonna like tie up satisfied. Like you're not gonna be
yeah,
satisfied by the end of this. Don't come and watch this. That's basically what you're telling people by naming it a
yes,
part one kind of thing. And it definitely, but I feel like it will stick the landing. I have a feeling just because I think Tom Cruise just cares way too much about Ethan Hunt as a character and this franchise.
yeah,
For him not to leave this, if this is the final film, not to
yeah,
leave this on a good note. I just don't see it happening. Because same way with like Top Gun Maverick, where it's like I don't feel like he would come back to that if he didn't feel like it was a must. I really think he cares so much that like there's no way they don't stick the landing on this. My hope is
yeah,
at least.
yeah. And also to the Tom Cruise with Ethan Hunt character. I'm pretty sure I said Ethan Hawke earlier. Ethan Hunt. Like I'm ready for it to be the last one because now I want to see what Tom Cruise will do next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I want to
maybe
edit a
that might be a
tomorrow
Top Gun
sequel.
3, you know? Yeah, 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 exactly. Let's do that, you know. But like as much as I love these films, like let's do something else with Tom
Yeah.
Cruise, you know? So
100% because also like Tom Cruise has got to start thinking about like life after being Tom Cruise. I'm not talking about like death, but like just like how life will be when you can't just rely on like sort of get going through a helicopter on a motorcycle or like
yeah,
climbing
yeah,
up a skyscraper in Dubai. Like you've got to like think about okay, what is life going to be like afterwards, and like are we going to go back to like Tom Cruise like in like Eyes Wide Shut and like
yeah.
maybe Tom Cruise in like Tropic Thunder where like we get to maybe see him like flex his acting chops again like a Collateral
Yes, yes,
because the guy can act, man, the guy
yeah,
can
yeah,
act, so it'll be like a fun like sort of swan song like final reckoning, I guess. And I think we'll
yeah,
get a
yeah,
Top
yeah,
Gun 3, my guess. But
yeah,
I feel like afterwards, I'm intrigued to see what his next chapter in his career might look
yeah.
like.
I'm sort of ready for like Tom Cruise wanting to win an Oscar. I'm ready for that stage,
Yeah,
you know
for
what I mean?
that,
Like
for that,
maybe he
him
works with
him
like,
chasing the Oscar bag is going to be a good run.
yeah, I'm ready for that, you know, because like you could just
Because
imagine like,
no,
go
what
on.
were you going to say?
You can imagine like the campaign trails for like a Tom Cruise Oscar film would be insane, you know?
It's
So
bro, because like I remember the film critic before it got canned, like Tarantino's next one.
yeah,
Apparently,
yeah.
Tom Cruise was meant to be in it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that
I
was
didn't know that.
that's what I felt like the turn was about to happen. I was like, okay, he's linking up with
Here we
QT.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was meant to have like it was meant to be Tom Cruise. Apparently, the lead was also supposed to be Shane Gillis, which was so like
Oh
out of the left
man.
field. Like I was like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Apparently, it was because like he wanted Paul Walter Hauser, but he couldn't get him for like
Mm,
scheduling. And I'm like, how are you not freeing up your schedule for a Tarantino movie? I don't
yeah.
know.
Especially
But
for his last film, you know?
yeah, exactly for his last movie. There's not a movie I wouldn't drop to do that.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah,
whether or not the reports were true or not, but anyways,
yeah,
again, that Paul Walter Hauser guy's in everything. Do you not think
yeah, yeah,
he's going to be in
yeah.
the new Fantastic Four as well? Like he's in everything.
And he's wrestling now. Like you were talking about wrestling. He wrestles
Yeah,
now as well. You
yeah,
know,
he's in
like what's going on
AEW as
there?
well. The dude's literally like doing what he wants. Fair play to him. You gotta love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. He's good, and I like him. You know what I mean? So like, he's in loads. The more, the better, really. You know?
Innit? I'm so ready. And if he's not Mole Man in Fantastic Four, I'll be so disappointed. I'll be so disappointed. Mole Man is basically like, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember The Incredibles?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Do you remember at the end the like the little dude that came out of the ground?
Oh, the Underminer.
The Underminer. That's basically
Yeah.
Mole Man, bro. The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever gotten.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
didn't
that's
they
why I
like
like it.
change a load of Fantastic Four because of The Incredibles or something?
No, so a lot of fan. What was that? Sorry.
I remember hearing something. I don't know if it's like an urban legend or what, but like they actually changed a lot of the script of that first Fantastic Four movie because of The Incredibles coming out a year before it was supposed to come out. There was going to be like too much similarity.
Really? I could so see
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I could so see that. But
yeah,
like, I mean, Fantastic Four is very so not Fantastic Four, but Incredibles is so inspired from Fantastic Four. Like, it's
yeah,
so like inspired from it. So, and it's the best version of it we've gotten. That's why, for me, if I was in like Marvel, if I wanted someone to direct a Fantastic Four movie, obviously before what we've gotten now, I was so would have went with Brad Bird.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I so would have went with Brad Bird. Like I know, like Tomorrowland didn't do that great in terms of like him going into live action, but I felt like the tonally he nailed it. If he could nail that tone, I feel like he could easily nail the tone of a Fantastic Four. But
But
anyway,
he didn't. I'm pretty sure he either wrote or directed a Mission Impossible as well, right? So
didn't he do Ghost Protocol?
I think so. Yeah. So like he can do midsummer big blockbuster franchise cinema, So maybe he just didn't
I
want to.
think
I don't know.
Tomorrowland really burnt a lot of like his like. I honestly think if Tomorrowland did well, like, do you remember the one with George Clooney?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
was meant to be like a big thing for Disney, and it kind of flopped. And I
yeah,
honestly think that happening kind of burnt a lot of bridges of him doing like any potential like further live action things for them franchise wise. Like
yeah,
I so could have seen him being like maybe what a John Favreau is for them now. Like, and that
yeah,
could have
yeah,
so
yeah,
easily have been like a Brad Bird.
yeah. Well,
For me, my number one is just Superman. I'm so
yeah.
surprised Superman was not in your list, man. I'm so surprised.
I'm really intrigued in what's going to happen with Superman, but like I'm so cautious about it that it didn't make my top 10. So
That's fair. That's fair. You have every right to be cautious. Like Warner Brothers have done nothing but giving you evidence of them messing up their IPs and them messing up this like DCU, like this DCU. I mean,
mm,
their biggest thing was not having a guy. They
yeah,
didn't have a Kevin Feige. Didn't have a guy. Now they've got a guy. They've got the guy.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, I've got so much faith in James Gunn purely from the standpoint of like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was such a big, like, successful, like, land sticking moment for him because it felt like the culmination of like being fired, coming back, completing a
yeah,
trilogy. Like, there's a whole thing of like Marvel trilogies aren't usually like strong throughout. I honestly think you got Cap and maybe you got Guardians, and that's really it.
yeah,
So the fact he was able to do it with these like Z-list characters, like these obscure ass characters, and now he's got the reins of Superman. It fills me nothing with faith. Creature Commandos was like apparently meant to be a good lead in. I haven't seen it because it's in the
mm,
UK, but meant to be a good lead in to sort of what Superman can be. Again, it's a movie with so much riding on it, there's so much weight
yeah,
to it because it's not just a Superman movie, which is what it should purely be based and judged on. Is it a good Superman movie? But
yeah,
it now has sort of the weight of like being the torchbearer of a new universe, like a complete
yeah,
new universe now. And it's got high expectations and also high expectations from the studio as well. I hope they don't have the expectations of this making 1 billion. I feel like it can do if it's a really good
mm,
movie. I have indications it will be. If it's a good movie, I feel like it could hit that. But they're still like again, they're still soured from a DCEU or like these past experiences because the fact that a Superman movie might not be like some people are so like scarred that they're kind of wary and they're trepidatious coming into it is a bad
yeah,
sign. That's a bad sign for them as a studio as well, and for
yeah,
their new universe. So they got to come into it thinking, okay, if we make a good movie and audiences and critics respond to it, and then we have some momentum and then can build a universe afterwards, and then we keep hitting like high sort of grades, audience scores, critic scores, people are enjoying our movies, and it all starts from Superman, great. But to expect like a huge blockbuster like smash is
Yeah, right off the
so much
bat.
weight to it. So much
Yeah,
weight. But
yeah.
everything so far, like the trailer looks amazing. The casting is incredible. Like James Gunn is so good at casting, and like Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, I'm so gassed to see.
Yeah.
David also, I haven't had too much like sort of info on him before Superman, but he looks like a good Superman. I'm intrigued also to see how they handle that. Rachel Brosnahan
Yeah.
as Lois Lane looks incredible just because
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
a superstar. Being Lois kind of fits perfectly. And the dude from Righteous Gemstone, forgetting his name, who's playing who's playing Jimmy Olsen,
Oh yeah, yeah.
literally looks like Jimmy Olsen, the guy
Yeah.
drew. Like, he was drawn to play Jimmy Olsen. It feels like, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I just want to go back to you in terms of your trepidations going into Superman, why you feel like why you're coming into it a bit like I'm a bit wary. Is it coming from sort of James Gunn or is it coming from just DCU movies, DCEU previously kind of like have scorned you? Where are you kind of
It's honestly more sort of linked to what you were saying about Fantastic Four, really, which is like, and again, what you were saying then, like ideally this should be judged just as a Superman movie, but it has to be the key which unlocks the DCU. And like, it's not just a case of like having to introduce people to a new DC universe. It's like trying to get people on board with a new cinematic universe, and we've got so many, and we've had so many. Like we've had more than one DC one, but it's also like I just want a good Superman movie, you know? Like Superman's never been my favorite comic book character, my favorite superhero or anything like that. But he's so American, you know what I mean? And
yeah
like obviously big screen filmmaking is so American that like surely the two should go hand in hand. And obviously with the first 1978 Superman that did happen. But it hasn't really happened since, you know. And like I'm a bit like when it comes to Superman, sort of don't F with the formula, you know,
yeah
make it look like a Superman movie, make it sound and feel like Metropolis, like a Superman movie, which Man of Steel didn't really do. And like the later Superman Christopher Reeve films didn't really do. Like this part of me which just kind of wants like we've got Fantastic Four set in the 60s. There's part of me which wants like a live action 40s Superman film, you know what I mean? Where it's like the golden age of Hollywood and everything. I think that'd be sweet. That's obviously
that'd be
never gonna
cool.
happen because Superman is so big, you know. But
And
like
get you in a
I just
pitch
want
meeting,
to
bro. We need to
yeah,
get
yeah,
you in a
exactly,
pitch
you know.
meeting.
So if this one doesn't work, give me a 40 Superman. Like
Yeah,
I'll
bro.
do it.
Oh, they're doing Elseworlds movies now, so we can still get. That's a good thing about DC is that we have the ability to do Elseworld movies where we can have
Yeah.
we can have a Silver Age Superman exist alongside this DCU.
Yes, exactly. And they'll just do good numbers as long as they're good, just because it is Superman. But the thought which I've had, like within talking about these last two movies, is that like I wasn't entirely sold on the color scheme of the
Yeah,
Superman trailer. I thought it was just a bit too like, whoa, what's going on here? A bit too vivid, possibly a bit too James Gunn, for lack of a better term. But like you were saying then about Fantastic Four, and I didn't think this is that obviously it's set during that era of comics where
yeah,
everything was like four colors. I think they say,
yeah,
like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
yeah.
I've
Steve
literally just
Ditko.
felt
Yeah,
like
100%.
maybe that's what's happening with Superman. Maybe that's what we look at it and be like, whoa, why is that so like high contrast and everything? But maybe James Gunn is trying to go for like a real comic book aesthetic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I think the two Amazing Spider-Man movies are really good at like using a comic book color palette. So maybe that's what he's doing here. You know what I mean? And maybe that's the way the DC is going to look moving forward. Whether that's going to translate into $1 billion, whether that's people casual film goers want, I don't know. That's another story, you know. But yeah, to think on it now, perhaps that is exactly what they're trying to do, is trying to make it look like the original Superman comics. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And I was with you in the boat of like initially when I saw the trailers, I was like, they need to fire whoever color graded this. Like,
yeah,
what is this? But then I'm like, the more footage we start getting out of it, and it feels like its own very specific world. Like the way that it's colored now, just made like you said, it just feels like it's a very own specific world. It's a specific
yeah,
tone, and like we kind of it can feel as much more disconnected from reality even by doing that. But it just kind of
yeah.
it took a second to adjust to it though.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hundred
yeah.
percent,
I
I'm with
suppose what they're going for is something new, isn't it? You know, and it's literally not going to look like anything else, is it? You know?
100%. And I think what Superman can do is like you were talking about sort of Top Gun Maverick, and because I
Mm.
think just in film, like I think Top Gun Maverick coming out will be such a pivotal moment in sort of like film history going forward. I think people will look back at like how that movie really did sort of save box office in general, like going forward. But I
Yeah,
think what this Superman movie really does need to do is kind of needs to be akin to sort of like that 1978 release of like the
yeah,
original Christopher Reeves movie, which it like also did what a Top Gun Maverick did, which it gave that sort of summer jolt to the box office. But this Superman movie needs to do that to comic book movies in general,
yeah,
because I feel like audience members are on such a sort of like downward spiral when it comes to like, are we going to spend our hard-earned money on another mediocre comic book movie, which will eventually be on streaming? And I need to
yeah,
be like, the only way to make these like high-end numbers, like a billion or whatever, is by having your casuals come and then your people come in for repeat viewings as well. And
yes,
the
yeah,
only way that happens is by making a good movie. And I feel like if you're akin to sort of, that's why when he dropped the Superman legacy and it just became Superman, I felt like maybe that's what he was going for in terms of trying to harken it back to that original 78 movie and
yeah,
try and hopefully do what that kind of did and what a Top Gun did, where it's like it came in, it reminded us this is why we love going to see this. We're going to cinema
yes,
in the summer. This is why we love this. You're going to leave this pumped as hell, and we're going to give this generation a reason to love Superman.
yeah,
I feel like especially our sort of generation where it's like we didn't have that reason to love Superman like that. Like people older than us had the 70s and the 80s movies. We didn't have a staple Superman like that. I feel like
yeah.
people now younger going forward might have that with this, just which is exciting as hell.
Yeah. It's so interesting that we're saying this about Superman now, where like it's not just we're not just tying it into Superman, but like we've been saying this sort of thing throughout this entire like video that we've been doing is like we need a reason to go to the cinema. We need that big screen experience, you know, and it's
Yeah,
like Superman could end up being that. We talk about like I said about Mission Impossible, said about F1 and things like that. Like it could be Superman. Superman could be the one this year, you know? So
100%. And also, it's also on filmmakers, it's on writers, it's on these studios to give people a reason to leave. Like you're asking people to spend their money, you're asking people to
yeah,
take time out of their day. So you better give people a reason to come out and watch your film. Like it's not just the sort of like heyday where it's like there was a really good run of like 5 to 7 years, I would say, like post Force Awakens, where the box office really was booming. Now, especially
yeah,
after COVID, you gotta give people a reason to come out, and it's easy to just sort of blame audience members where it's like the climate and people are willing to come to the cinema. You gotta give them a reason to, and I'm hoping
yeah,
that a lot of these movies we just named are giving people a reason to come and giving people a reason
yes,
to go to the cinema.
yeah. Yeah, like we'll be there, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
we this, you
we'll
know,
be
but
there. We'll be
yeah,
there,
yeah, but
bro.
like everyone else, you know. So
Exactly, everyone else,
yeah.
bro. Literally everyone else. And hopefully it gives people a chance to sort of practice their cinema etiquette because that has gone down the toilet
Oh
since
man,
COVID.
yeah. Like when you were saying earlier about the singing in Wicked, just like come on, man,
The
you know,
singing in Wicked
like
or the doom scrolling in the cinema. I'm like, why would you pay to go into a cinema to go watch a film and then just go on your phone and scroll TikTok or scroll
yeah,
Instagram? You're like,
yeah,
you're not only distracting me, like even if I'm like way back and I can see someone just whipping their phone out at the front, it already just like hurts. It
yeah,
already
yeah,
hurts.
yeah,
Why would you want to waste your money and time doing that? I don't
yeah.
understand.
Because like cinema is getting, it's not getting cheaper going to the cinema. Do you know what I mean?
It's
So
not.
like,
It's
why
not
why
getting
would you
cheaper.
do it? You know?
It's not getting,
Um,
and it's not like where it's like every things are getting more expensive. But for example, we're getting more pluses by the like price increase, or movies are getting any better. Do you know what I mean? They're not taking more
yeah,
care with movies, or cinema chains aren't providing people with extra benefits because they're paying more. It's just shit's getting more expensive. So now it's just more of a reason for people to like kind of have to be tugged out, and you need to give people a really good reason to come out and watch movies.
yeah. So
You know what I
hopefully
mean?
this is it. Hopefully 2025 is going to continue that,
Yeah,
man. You know? So
hopefully, bro. But well, that was it, man. I'm so glad we were able to do this, bro. Such a
yeah,
fun
man.
this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
we were able to get two like three different lists, but I would be like so crazy not to have had so many of your lists, like your
yeah,
mentions in my list as well, because I'm like
yes,
I missed out on like again, like I said, Happy Gilmore 2 would have easily cracked my top 10. Guillermo del
yeah,
Toro's Frankenstein could have easily cracked my top 10. Again, the fact that my top two aren't even in your list, do you know what I mean? Like that, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
We got so much diversity in our choices.
yeah. And
Um,
there's not a single movie in your list which I'm not going to watch either. You know, it's not as if I
exactly.
was
And
like,
same
oh, are
thing
you
over
sure?
there.
I was like, let's go.
Like, same thing over there because it's gonna flip.
Yeah.
Same thing over there. But yeah,
Yeah.
Anything you want to say to the people before we leave it, Rhysy?
Um, I mean, no, I mean, obviously, watch RVW movies. Gonna self plug myself a little bit.
As you should.
But I hope that everyone watching is gonna be watching. I'm not gonna say 20 because we had a little bit of crossover, but I hope everyone watching is gonna watch everything that we've just said as well. And if you weren't
Exactly.
already, I hope you're gonna watch it now because we've said we're gonna watch it. So
Exactly, exactly. Follow the guiding light of Rhysy and Shadi. We got this.
exactly, man.
We got this. But come on, I'm hoping for a big year in cinema. I'm hoping for an upper. I think we've been on an upper trajectory since coming out of COVID. I hope hopefully this continues. I really do. Plus we've
Yeah.
got like again, I had such struggle just narrowing it down to a 10. Like there are so many
Mhm.
ones I forgot to mention. So please make sure you go to cinema. Please make sure you watch movies. Make sure you check out Rhys's channel as well. Honestly, he has such a great format where he reviews movies in 3 minutes and he does it weekly. And he's so not to, but he's so good at doing it. He's nailed that format and it's such a joy to watch. So please, 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 if you have not checked his stuff out, please do that.
For anyone who's watching RVW movies who hasn't checked out Happy Doomsday, please do so because you deal with like I don't really deal with like movie news and stuff like that. Mine's almost exclusively movie reviews. Like I'm branching out to some other stuff, but news is not what I do. So if you need movie news and some opinions which aren't just reviews, check out Happy Doomsday right now.
My G, I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's fun. Exactly. It's fun to be able to like, because I don't usually review movies as well. I kind of like gotten out of the habit of like, I kind of want to focus on news and punditry. And so it's
Yeah.
fun to have like people that do the opposite come on here and be able to kind of get their 2 cents off of on news. And I bet I'll have you back on to talk about some of the news at some point as
Yeah,
well.
man.
And then being able to review on other people's stuff is fun as well. So it's cool that everyone can have their different avenues and we kind of get to play in each other's avenues every now and again. It's really fun.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you being on, man, and
Thank you for
appreciate
having me, man. I really enjoyed it.
awesome, bro. I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Okay.